On this night, a great storm rages over Collinwood. All the elements of nature seem to be at war, clashing with monumental fury. Not far from the great house, there is one who has taken refuge from the storm, and unknowingly has found shelter in a place that is destined to be her tomb.
You can't go out in that.
But I have to.
You'd better wait inside until it lets up at least a little.
I was so sure that I'd have the time to get down here and make it back.
Well, perhaps it'll let up soon.
I don't think so. It's not that kind of a storm.
Well, you can't go out in it now. That's impossible.
But I've got to get back.
Well, if you're afraid that they'll worry, I'll send Willie over to let them know that you're all right.
Oh, no. No one should go out in a storm like that. Well, I'm afraid that I'm going to have to stay here for a little while. I'm very sorry.
Forgive me if I'm delighted.
You are kind.
Have you ever been in this house during a storm?
One like this.
This house was built for storms.
What do you mean?
This room is never more beautiful than when it's lit by lightning. Look. And the thunder echoing down the corridors.
Yes, I see.
It was for nights like this house was built.
I think I know what you mean.
Do you?
Yes. But what am I going to do if this storm doesn't stop?
You'll wait here, and I'll do my best to entertain you.
But I don't think you understand. I think this storm is going to last all night.
Well, if my company wearies you, you can always rest a while. Don't forget, Josette's room is ready at all times.
Yes, of course. Josette's room. Would you mind if I did stay in Josette's room?
Of course not.
Somehow the idea of spending the night in her room appeals to me.
Why?
I don't know. I've always felt a closeness to her.
I wonder why you do.
Well, I suppose it's because I don't know who my ancestors were. And I've always liked to imagine that she was one of them. I suppose that sounds very foolish to you.
Not at all. It's very easy for me to believe that you are descended from Josette.
Why do you say that?
Well, because you're so much like her in so many ways. Well, not only because of your beauty, but because of your intelligence, your warmth, your generosity.
You're very flattering.
Only truthful.
Sometimes when you talk about Josette, it's as if you knew her.
I know a great deal about her. I've taken the trouble to find out all I can, because among my ancestors, I have always found Josette to be the most fascinating.
Then may I ask you one thing, Mr. Collins?
Barnabas, please.
Barnabas.
What is it?
Once long ago, you told me about her death, how she threw herself from Widow's Hill.
Yes, I've always considered it the saddest of the family legends.
You described how she ran to the cliffs. Ran because someone was chasing her.
Yes?
Who was chasing her?
Her lover. The man who loved her more than anyone else in the world.
Do you know who he was?
Yes?
Who?
Jeremiah Collins.
Her husband?
Yes.
Her husband was chasing her?
According to the legend, yes.
But then he must have done something to frighten her, to make her feel so desperate.
Perhaps he did, intentionally or unintentionally.
But I thought he loved her.
The man who ran after Josette Collins that stormy night long ago loved her more than life itself.
And yet he was responsible for her death.
Well, he never intended for her to die, only to live.
I don't understand a kind of love that ends in death and destruction.
Perhaps Josette never understood him, or the extent of his love.
Well, I don't understand a love like that. If he loved her, well, then he wouldn't have frightened her.
Perhaps. But I can't defend everything he did. Nor could he.
Well, if you don't mind, I am a little tired. I think I'll go upstairs now.
Of course. Vicky.
Yes? What is it?
Well, the storm seems to have lessened somewhat.
Well, do you think so?
I'm not sure.
Do you think I could make it back to Collinwood?
Possibly. I'd be delighted to accompany you if you wanted to go back. I leave it entirely in your hands.
Well, it sounds worse than ever to me.
Then you'd prefer to stay?
I think so. If it would be no inconvenience to you.
Of course it would be no inconvenience.
I appreciate your hospitality.
Of course.
I'm sure that no one at Collinwood will miss me, so it's perfectly all right for me to stay here, I think, isn't it?
Yes. I hope you find everything you need.
I'm sure that I will.
Good night.
Good night.
Barnabas?
Willie, what are you doing up?
Well, I heard the storm. I thought I'd better check to see if everything's all right.
Well, everything is fine. I'll see that the doors and the windows are secure.
Barnabas?
What is it?
Has anybody been in the house tonight?
Why do you ask?
Because of something I found.
What?
This.
This wall?
Yeah. It looks like it belongs to a kid, but I'm pretty sure no kid could have gotten into the house. Every door and window was locked all day long.
Well, where did you find it?
In the basement, near the coffin.
The coffin? Willie, if you let young David sneak in here during the day...
There's no way he could have, Barnabas, I swear to you. The house has been locked up, tight as a drum all day long.
Then where did this come from?
I don't know, Barnabas.
If David had gotten into the house and gotten to that coffin, we would have heard about it by now.
Well, of course, he isn't the only kid who hangs around here.
What do you mean?
There's that little girl.
Little girl?
The one I told you about, the one who plays around here. But I don't see how she could have gotten in here either.
How old was that girl?
9, 10.
9, 10.
You know, it's funny. Maggie Evans talked about seeing a little girl. I thought she was crazy.
She was.
Hey, maybe that bull was down there all the time and we never noticed it before.
Possibly. But I better go and take a look in the basement just the same.
Well, you want me to come with you?
No. I'll go alone. You stay here.
Well, what do you expect to find?
Nothing, but I'd better look anyway.
Barnabas?
What?
I keep having the strangest feeling.
What are you talking about?
I keep having a feeling that there's someone else in this house besides us.
Wait here.
London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. London Bridge is falling down. My fair
Who's there? Who is it?
take the key and lock up. Take the key and lock up, my fair lady. London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. London Bridge is falling down, my fair lady.
Willie?
Miss Winters. For a moment, What are you doing here?
Didn't Mr. Collins tell you I was staying here?
Oh, no, he didn't.
Well, I stopped by to talk to him and I got caught in the storm. And he was kind enough to let me stay in the house.
You're spending the night here in this house?
Mm-hmm.
Where?
In Josette's room.
Josette.
Willie, the strangest thing just...
Miss Winters, do you really think it's a good idea for you to stay here?
A good idea.
Well, I mean, would they be worried about you, the people at Collinwood?
Oh, no, I don't think so. I think they've all gone to sleep by now.
You can't tell. And I know you don't want them to worry.
Listen, Willie, I don't want to go out in a storm like this, and it's not going to blow over until...
I got a coat you could wear. Now, I'll go home with you to make sure you get home through the woods, all right, okay?
That's very nice of you, but it's not necessary.
You want to stay here?
Well, to be quite honest with you, I like the idea of spending the night in Josette's room.
You do?
Yes, it's very comfortable. Anyway, I wouldn't drag anybody out in a storm like this.
Now, look, I wouldn't mind. I really wouldn't.
You surprise me, Willie.
Why?
You never used to be this thoughtful.
Miss Winters,
Yes? What is it?
you're making a big mistake.
Why do you say that?
Yes, Willie. Why do you say that? Why is Miss Winters making a mistake?
Of course, people might get the wrong idea.
Because she's staying in this house tonight?
Yeah.
I'm sure that your concern is completely unwarranted.
course it is.
Maybe so.
But Willie was kind enough to offer to take me back to Collinwood.
Was he?
I told him it wasn't necessary, but I appreciate his generosity.
Well, Willie's a very generous young man. Aren't you, Willie? Oh, come now, don't be modest. I dare say that you will someday be amply rewarded for your generosity. Well, what brings you downstairs, Miss Winters? The storm? Couldn't you sleep?
No, it wasn't that. A very strange thing happened.
What?
Well, I was sound asleep and a voice woke me. It was singing.
Singing?
Yes, it was a little girl.
A little girl?
I thought she was in my room. She kept singing the same song over and over again. London Bridge is falling down.
Impossible.
I know. When I lit the candle, there was nobody in the room, but I heard the singing distinctly.
It must have been your imagination.
I was wide awake. It was so real.
I assure you there is no little girl in this house.
I suppose it was my imagination, but I don't know.
It must have been.
I guess so.
Are you frightened to return to Gisette's room?
Oh, no. I'm not afraid.
Are you sure?
Yes, I was just being silly. There's no reason at all why I shouldn't go back to that room.
Well, let me know if there's anything you need.
I will.
Good night.
Good night.
Who is she, Barnabas, this little girl?
There is no little girl.
But Miss Winters heard her.
That was her imagination.
Well, she didn't imagine this. How did it get here, Barnabas, unless she left it here, whoever she is?
There is no little girl.
But Barnabas...
There is no little girl, you understand?
Yeah.
Wait. What were you saying to Miss Winters when I came into the room?
What?
Go on, what were you saying? Why don't you answer me? You were trying to warn her about me, weren't you?
No.
You were warning her about me.
Yes.
The truth. At last you're telling me the truth.
You can kill me if you want to. But I didn't want you to harm her. She never did anything to deserve it.
You know what would have happened to you if you had warned her.
Yes.
And you know what I should do to you now for even trying.
You gonna kill me?
No.
Well, what are you gonna do?
Nothing.
Nothing. You mean you change your mind? You aren't gonna punish me?
No. I want you to talk to me.
Talk.
Well, better still, don't talk, but stay here.
You like her, don't you? That's why you don't want to harm her. That's it, isn't it? Don't harm her, Barnabas. She never did anything to deserve
Be
it.
quiet, Willie.
You don't want to do it. I can tell you don't.
Please. Willie, the sound of your voice is irritating me. You'd best you go to bed.
Barnabas.
Do as I say. All right. And stay in bed for the rest of the night.
Dark Shadows is a Dan Curtis production.
A storm has broken suddenly over Collinwood, and sanctuary has been sought and found in the old house beyond the woods. But a deeper, safer sanctuary has also been found. The sanctuary of the past, far and safe from present threats, where even the landscape of dreams is free of thunder and of storms. And a serenity the present can never know pervades the gentle air, or so it seems.
Just left for the day. He said I should make sure I gave you some breakfast or at least some coffee.
Thank you, Willie, but I've got to hurry. I didn't mean to sleep this late.
Did you sleep all right?
Beautifully.
I mean, nothing disturbed you during the night?
Of course not. What are you talking about?
Yeah, nothing?
Did you expect me to see ghosts?
No.
Well, I must say, I expected to, sleeping in Josette's room.
Well, I mean, you didn't see or hear anything?
No. Why do you keep asking?
No reason. I just wanted to make sure you had a good night.
I had a wonderful night. Willie, it's hard for me to believe that you're really this concerned.
I guess I'm not.
Well, then. Come to think of it.
Yeah?
For a moment, I did have a feeling as though someone were in the room.
What happened?
Nothing. I wasn't afraid. Of course, it was only a dream, that's why.
Yeah, sure.
Or was it?
What do you mean?
Willie, I know you've changed a lot, but...
You think it was me?
Was it?
Well, no, I swear I wasn't anywhere near that room.
Are you sure?
Oh, I wouldn't do anything like that. Well, I even offered to take you home last night, remember?
Yes.
Well, I wouldn't hurt you. You gotta believe that. I wouldn't want anyone to hurt you, anyone. You gotta believe that, too. Now, you do believe it, don't you?
All right, Willie. I believe it. There's nothing to get so upset about. Nobody's gonna hurt me. a matter of fact. When I was in Josette's room, I felt safer than I ever have in my life.
Yes, I know I said I'd see you this morning, but it's impossible.
May I ask why?
Well, I'd rather not discuss it. I'm disturbed, very disturbed.
Of course, if it's none of my business.
You must have heard the dreadful things that have been happening around Collinsport lately.
Oh, you mean about Maggie Evans?
Obviously, there's a madman on the loose.
Oh, has something new happened?
I don't know.
But you think maybe something had?
Miss Winters, the girl you met the other day, didn't sleep in her room last night. She seems to have disappeared.
You think that maniac...
Oh, no, that can't be it.
Good morning. Hello, Miss Hoffman.
Vicky, thank heavens, what happened?
Well, I was down in the old house when the storm broke, so I stayed there.
Oh, I've been half out of my mind with worry.
I'm terribly sorry. I meant to get back much before this.
But you're safe, that's all that matters.
Why wouldn't I be?
Vicky, you know there's a madman on the loose around here somewhere.
I guess I'd forgotten.
How could you? You know what happened to Maggie Evans.
I don't know how I could have forgotten, and I'm very sorry that I frightened you. But you have to admit that I was a lot safer down there with Mr. Collins to protect me than if I tried to get back here in the storm.
Oh, yes, of course. If I'd known you were with Barnabas, I wouldn't have worried at all.
But with no phone, there was no way of reaching you. I truly am sorry.
Oh, it's all right. And thank heavens you were with Barnabas. I'd like to cooperate, Miss Hoffman, but I'm really a very busy woman.
Well, it wouldn't take any of your time.
And if you needed any help, perhaps I
I'm
could...
sorry, but it's out of the question.
Mrs. Stoddard, may I speak frankly?
If you're hoping to change my mind, I'm afraid it's of no use.
I'm sure there's a lot in the Collins family history that you'd prefer remain private.
Isn't that almost true of any family?
Of course. But most families can escape continuing attention. The Collins family cannot.
Well, whether we can or can't, it's hardly something I want to encourage.
Well, it's something you can neither encourage nor discourage. The public's interested. More than that, they're fascinated.
Why can't they just leave us alone?
Because it's the Collins family. They're going to create legends and myths.
Well, then let them. But I'm not going to supply the material.
You'd be doing exactly the opposite if you let me work on my history.
I don't understand.
If people knew the truth, then they wouldn't make up their own versions of it.
Exactly.
I just don't believe in going over the past.
But there's so much in the past that's beautiful. It's not all ugliness and tragedy. Like
I know.
the story of Josette. Now, all that people know about her is the part about her death. But there's much more to it than that, so much more. She was a great lady, and people should know that.
Miss Winters is right.
And I'm sure there are other stories, too.
Don't forget, Mrs. Stoddard, this won't affect any living members of the family. My research ends with the last century.
Well, I really don't know.
Please, Mrs. Stoddard, it could be so exciting.
If I can persuade both you and Mr. Collins to cooperate...
You'll find that my brother has very little interest in the matter.
Oh, I don't mean your brother. I meant your cousin, Barnabas Collins.
Miss Hoffman, I mentioned it to him.
Oh? And what did he say?
Well, he's not as enthusiastic as I thought he'd be.
Because he feels the same way I do. The family history is nobody's business but our own.
If that is the way he feels, I hope I can change his mind, as I hope I can change yours.
Yes, you must talk to him.
I intend to. I thought I'd go as soon as I left here.
Well, he's going away for the day, but Willie said he'd be back tonight. You could see him then.
Mr. Collins can cooperate if he wants to, but you'll have to forgive me if my decision is final.
But Mrs. Stoddard...
I'm sorry, Vicky. And now, if you'll excuse me, I'm really very busy.
I understand.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
I was so sure that she'd say yes.
Maybe she still will.
I doubt it.
Maybe you could talk to her.
I already have.
Maybe you could talk to her again.
Well,
I know everyone who specializes in something always thinks his or her work is of world-shattering importance. I can't help it in this case. I think my work, my research is important. Very, very important. You have an interest in the past. Help me. Talk to Mrs. Stoddard and try to persuade her.
I don't know if I can.
Try. And remember, it's just possible my work may be as important as I think it is.
Family history that important?
It is to me. Who can tell? Maybe just as important someday to someone else. Maybe even more so.
I don't understand.
I suppose I'm exaggerating. But then again, maybe I'm not.
But Vicky, I don't know why this is so important to you.
I don't know really why it is either. But the past is something that you've always thought of as ugly, something that should be kept secret. I think it's beautiful, and I think it should be shared.
Aren't you being romantic again?
Perhaps I am. But last night, when I stayed in Josette's room, it was like actually entering into the past. And everything was so peaceful and so calm and so quiet, so wonderfully quiet.
Well, you know that's hardly true of Josette.
Yes. Mrs. Stoddard, why am I getting so caught up in all this?
Of course, you realize that if Miss Hoffman does do the research on the family history, it would all be very detached and unromantic.
Yes, I know that.
Maybe that's exactly what you need.
What do you mean?
Well, you've been letting yourself be carried away lately by the romance of what's past. Maybe it would do you good to look at it in a very cold and objective way.
Do you mean that you're thinking about changing your mind?
Maybe you should find out for yourself just how unromantic it really was.
I'd never think that. But I'd love to work with Miss Hoffman.
All right, then. Why don't you?
Do you mean it?
Tell Miss Hoffman she has my permission to go ahead, and I will cooperate after all.
Oh, thank you.
I'm doing this for you, Vicky. And I'm not so sure you're going to thank me when it's all over.
Why wouldn't I?
Well, up until now, the past has been sort of a dream for you. Now it might become a reality, killing the dream. Has anyone ever thanked anyone for the death of a dream?
Oh, I thought I'd let you know the other day when you came with Miss Winters that visitors aren't welcome.
I'm not a visitor, and I'm not interested in being welcome. I came to see Mr. Collins.
You can't.
Why not?
He doesn't want to see you.
Then I prefer that he tell me himself.
He can't. He isn't here.
Then I'll wait.
He won't be back for a long time.
Just how long, precisely?
I don't know.
I'm in no hurry.
You can't stay here.
Mr. Collins has done a remarkable job with this house. He must have made a very thorough study of the period to know so many details.
Oh, please, Mr. Collins won't like it when he finds you here.
Miss Winters tells me that you did a good deal of the work. Did Mr. Collins refer to any drawings of the house?
No.
Then what were his references? They must have been very exact.
What do you want to know for?
I told you I'm interested in the history. This house is part of it.
Well, he had old pictures.
I thought you said he didn't.
He did.
There was no need to lie. If there was, I can't imagine what the reason could be. I only wanted to know where Mr. Collins could learn so much about the original condition of the house. It's almost as though he had seen it at the time. trustworthy person. You don't have to wait with me. I won't walk off with anything.
I have strict orders from Mr. Collins that no strangers are allowed in here.
I'll explain to Mr. Collins that I'm responsible. Please, please try not to be so nervous.
I'm not nervous.
You look absolutely terrified. Is Mr. Collins really that difficult?
Oh, will you stop asking questions?
Well, if he is so difficult, why do you work for him?
Perhaps because he wants to. Or perhaps I'm not difficult at all.
I told her no visitors were allowed.
Not rudely, I hope. You must be Miss Hoffman.
Yes, how do you do?
That will be all, Willie. Thank you.
Oh, I promised him I'd take full blame for being here. Visitors apparently make him very anxious.
You must forgive Willie. He's a very strange man, but I found him to be a loyal and valuable servant.
You know, of course, why I'm here.
According to Miss Winters, you're doing research on my family and would like access to my library.
Yes, and to any personal knowledge that you might have, if you don't mind.
Well, it isn't a matter of minding, Miss Hoffman. And I certainly feel that your project is extremely interesting.
Oh, then I can count on your cooperation.
I'm afraid not.
Oh? If you think it's interesting.
But my opinion in this case does not affect my decision. And my decision is no,
May I ask why?
if you like. But I don't feel particularly obliged to give you an answer.
I see.
But I do thank you for your interest in my family.
Now, you, of course, are from England.
Oh, I see you've been told my history.
Oh, very slightly. But I would like to know...
Please, Miss Hoffman, I'd prefer not encouraging you any further by answering even your slightest question. I don't mean to sound abrupt, but it would be senseless for me to start something that I have no intention of continuing.
I understand, but perhaps you'll change your mind.
I assure you I will not.
But a man with your interest in the past, sure.
Prefers to keep his interest to himself.
You didn't let me finish. I have done some research of my own. I might know something about your family that you might find extremely informative.
I doubt it.
How can you be so sure?
Well, I can't, but I can be disinterested.
About your family history? Oh, no one who lives in this house could be disinterested.
Well, perhaps then my disinterest is limited to what you might contribute.
Are you sure it would be so negligible?
Not necessarily. But the price I would have to pay is too high.
It'd be a fair exchange. Is that too high a price?
Oh, come now, Miss Hoffman. That's not possibly fair. Whatever you may know, I certainly know much more than you do.
Do you? Well, let me know if you change your mind. You might find it extremely interesting. Goodbye, Mr. Collins. I hope I'll see you again soon.
Dark Shadows is a Dan Curtis production.
The great estate of Collinwood rests on cliffs high above the sea, and on a quiet afternoon such as this, a familiar sound is the pounding of the surf, waves crashing against sand, only to return to the sea from which they came. There is a sense of timelessness here, for the sea is eternal, as human lives are not. But there are moments when a sense of timelessness can pervade a human mind, moments when the past seems to intermingle with the present. There is one who knows such a moment, not realizing that it represents an imminent threat, the approach of a violent and terrifying danger.
Miss Winters? Miss Winters!
Oh, I'm sorry, David. What did you say?
What's the matter with you?
What do you mean?
Well, you were just standing here looking out at the ocean. You didn't hear anything I said.
I guess I was daydreaming.
What about?
I'm not really sure.
You've been doing that a lot lately.
Have I? Yes, I guess I have. Well, that's a very bad habit. I should break it.
You know something, Miss Winters?
What's that?
I looked at you when you were daydreaming, and I got a funny feeling.
What kind of a feeling?
Well, a feeling that you weren't you when you're like that. That you were somebody else.
Somebody else?
That's the only way I can explain it. Like you were somebody else. Somebody else that was strange. And it frightened me.
David, are you serious?
Yes.
I frighten you?
Well, it's just that you look so strange. There was something scary about it.
Well, listen, I know that you like to imagine scary things. And you have a very active imagination, but you mustn't let it run away with you.
I'm not.
Then you're trying to frighten me, and that won't work.
Miss Winters?
Oh, Miss Hoffman. You remember David.
Hello, David.
Hello. Miss Hoffman's going to be staying here for a while.
Here? Why?
Well, you know she's doing a history of the Collins family, and she's got to do some research.
I can tell you about my ancestors. I know all about them.
Oh, we must have a good long talk one day.
Okay.
Were you looking for anything?
Well, yes, I understand there are some privately printed histories of the Collins family. I wondered if I might see one.
Of course, they're in the library. I'll get them for you.
Thank you.
Are you really doing a history of our family?
I really am.
About all of us? Even me?
Well, you'll be included, but mostly it's about your ancestors.
Which ones?
Well, Jeremiah Collins, Joshua Collins, and Barnabas Collins, of course.
Would you like to see some more pictures of them?
I think I've seen all the portraits of them.
Oh, no. I mean our family album. Would you like to look at it?
Yes, I would.
I'll get it.
Thank you. Oh, that's very interesting.
That's Joshua Collins.
Oh, yes. the original Barnabas Collins' father.
Right. Oh, and that's David Collins. I was named after him.
Who's that?
Oh, that's Naomi Collins.
Oh, Barnabas Collins' mother.
That's right.
She's lovely. And Barnabas Collins.
Mm-hmm.
And Sarah Collins.
Wait, let me see that. Let me see it.
What?
I've never seen it before.
The picture of Sarah Collins?
No. I've never even heard of her. And I know all about my ancestors.
Oh, well, she died when she was still a child. That's probably why you've never heard of her.
It's funny.
What is?
She looks just like a kid who hangs around here.
Oh?
Yes, I play with the girls sometimes.
You do?
Up near the old house.
The old house? Oh, yes, where Barnabas Collins lives.
Yes, that's right. She must like to play there an awful lot, because that's the only place I've ever seen her.
It's curious that she should look so much like the girl in the portrait.
You know, it's funny. You want to know something else that's really funny?
What?
The girl I play with, well, her name is Sarah, too.
Is it?
Yes, it is. And isn't that funny?
Yes, it is a strange coincidence. Very strange.
Do you suppose she's a ghost?
Who?
Sarah.
I doubt it very much.
There are ghosts around here.
Yes, I've heard the legends.
They aren't legends, they're real. Do you believe in ghosts?
David, don't start that again.
We were just talking.
About your favorite subject, and I'm sure Miss Hoffman isn't interested.
No, quite the contrary. I was very interested.
Well, I wish you were as interested in your homework as you are in ghosts.
Do I have to do homework anymore today? Can't I go out and play?
All right, but I want you back by dark.
Okay.
Here are the books you wanted.
Oh, thank you.
I hope that David's not being too much of a pest.
Oh, not at all. In fact, he was quite helpful. He was showing me portraits of his ancestors.
Oh, how Betty was. Next to ghosts, his ancestors are his favorite subject.
We were just looking at the portrait of Sarah Collins.
That's very strange.
What is?
She looks exactly like a sketch I saw once.
But it's Sarah Collins, the original Barnabas Collins.
It was a sketch that the police brought around after Maggie Evans died, but you wouldn't know anything about that.
No.
She was a local girl that was kidnapped by a madman. The sheriff thought that the little girl might be some clue to the kidnapper, and so they brought a sketch of her up here and showed it to Mrs. Stoddard and me. And neither of us had ever seen her before.
I see.
Very, very strange that she should look so much like this portrait.
Yes.
Well, you'll have to excuse me. I've got to get ready. I have a date.
Miss Winters, I wonder if you mind answering one question before you go.
Of course not. What is it?
You were here when they were restoring the old house, weren't you?
Yes, I was very interested in the restoration.
Do you know that if it's authentic to all details?
Well, as far as I know, it is.
Because I saw an engraving once, and there were mirrors in the drawing room, huge gilt mirrors. And when I was at the old house yesterday, I don't remember seeing them. I wonder what happened to them.
I don't know. I don't remember seeing any mirrors either.
Oh? Well, maybe they were put into another room.
No, I don't think so. As a matter of fact, I don't remember seeing any mirrors anywhere in that house, except for the little one in Josette's room.
I see. Well, maybe they've been lost.
Perhaps so.
Another question. Do you suppose Mrs. Stoddard would mind if I borrowed her album?
No, I don't think she would.
Well, I'd like to show it to Mr. Collins. I think he might be interested in portraits of his ancestors.
But I thought Mr. Collins wasn't interested in helping you with your research.
No, he wasn't interested in the book, but I think he'll be fascinated with the portraits.
I hope that he changes his mind and does decide to help you.
Whether he does or not, I have a feeling this visit will be very interesting.
Julia Hoffman? I never heard of her.
Neither have I, but I'm sure she's a very good writer. She's really intelligent.
But why does she want to do a history on the Collins family?
Because they're one of the oldest families in America. I think it's a very exciting project.
Vicky, I wish you weren't involved in it.
Why?
Because I think you're getting too involved in the past.
Burke, I'm interested in the past. I think everybody can learn something from history.
All right. Be interested in history, but not in the history of the Collins family. Not in history that includes ghosts and hobgoblins. It worries me.
Well, you have nothing to worry about.
I think I have. Josette's become a reality to you. And the other night at the old house, you thought you saw a little girl standing at the top of the stairs.
All right. But I admitted that was my imagination. And that's all there was to it. I suppose it was because of the house and the seance, and 100 other things.
Well, then, why feed your imagination by getting involved in the past of the Collins family? I don't know. It's always affected you before. I'd hate to see it again.
Burke, it did happen again.
What?
The other night, I woke up and I heard a voice coming out of the dark. A little girl's voice.
A little girl?
She was singing. And I know it was real because I was wide awake. I know that. But when I lit a candle, the room was empty. I don't know what's the matter with me, Burke.
You're just too wrapped up in the legends of Collinwood.
Maybe. Why would I hear a little girl's voice? Why?
I don't know.
Maybe it was spending the night in that room.
What room?
Josette's room.
You spent the night in Josette's room? In the old house? With Willie and Barnabas there?
I had to. It was the night that storm broke, and I had no way of getting back to Collinwood.
I have a feeling you'd have been safer in the storm.
Oh, Burke. Mr. Collins is a perfect gentleman, and Willie wouldn't hurt me. Vicky, I want you to promise me something. What?
I want you to promise me you'll never go there again.
Never go to the old house again?
Yes.
I can't promise you that.
Why not?
I just can't, that's all.
What is this fascination you've got for the old house?
I just like going there.
Well, what do you like about it?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's because I feel safe.
Safe?
Uh-huh. Safe and secure. As though I belong there. I don't know why I feel that way. But I do. And I'm not going to stop going there, Burke, and that's final.
Vicky, I don't know what's happening to you, but I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
Evening, Mr. Collins.
Miss Hoffman. Well, I didn't expect to see you so soon again.
I wonder if I might speak to you for a moment.
Well, I don't want to sound rude, but I can't imagine what we have to discuss.
Well, I'm not here to get information from you. I want to show you something.
But what is it?
Well, it's a family album with some portraits of your ancestors I thought you might be interested in seeing.
Why?
Well, I actually had hoped that you would tell me something about them, something I didn't already know.
You're very persistent, Miss Hoffman. I have nothing to tell you.
Then I've made the trip in vain. But since I have made the trip, why don't you let me show them to you anyway?
Come in. But I can only give you a few minutes of my time.
That'll be fine.
I assume that's the book you're talking about.
Yes. Now, here is a portrait of the original Barnabas Collins, your namesake.
So I see.
I must say the resemblance is remarkable.
It's often commented on.
And this is his mother, Naomi. Isn't she lovely?
Yes.
And on the next page, you'll find a portrait of Joshua, the father of Barnabas.
I recognize him from other portraits.
And on the next page is Sarah Collins, the sister of Barnabas.
Oh?
She's on the next page. Why don't you turn the page? She's a lovely child, isn't she?
Yes.
Look at her eyes. They're very much like yours.
Do you think so?
And her features, you really do look very much alike.
What are you doing?
Even historians have a certain amount of feminine vanity. I was just checking my makeup.
Well, I've looked at your portraits, Miss Hoffman. Is that what you wanted?
Yes, I'm sorry that you weren't very interested.
Well, I'm afraid your assumption is correct.
Then I won't take up any more of your time. Thank you very much, Mr. Collins, and good evening.
Good evening, Miss Hoffman.
Miss Hoffman, did you see Mr. Collins?
Yes. Yes, it was a very successful visit.
Was it?
Yes, I learned a great deal this evening.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Yes, in fact, I think I've learned everything. Everything I needed to know.
Dark Shadows is a Dan Curtis production.
There are those who watch in the night. They move about unseen, covered by the mantle of darkness. Some who are watched never become aware of it. But others, who are more sensitive, can feel the burning eyes upon them. Going on out there. Don't I know it? I heard your music box playing. It makes me feel better. I wish I had something to make me feel better. I just can't seem to go to sleep. Karen, before you came in, I was looking out the window. I thought I saw someone out there. Oh, Vicky, don't tell me that. Look! Over there! Doesn't it look like someone standing behind that tree? It seems as though there's someone standing behind every tree out there tonight. Watching and waiting. Oh, I feel worse than ever. I'm sorry. I was just so sure that I saw someone standing there. And waking up in the morning to see the sunshine. What a wonderful idea. Let me know if it works. Carolyn, I'll sit up with you if you'd really like me to. No, I'm all right. Just call me Miss Jitters of 1967. I'll see you in the morning. Good night. Good night. trying to read and suddenly the lights went out. You can imagine how I feel now. I was asleep.
Well, then I did waken you.
No. It was the music box. It was playing.
Well, you were listening to it before. You must have fallen asleep.
No. I know that I shut it. Somehow it started playing again. Perhaps the top popped open. There's nothing wrong with the catch. See? Carolyn, I don't understand it. Carolyn, I have the feeling that something was here in this room with me. But now, I have the feeling that I was in some kind of danger. That something intervened. Shake this awful feeling out of us. Well, nothing else, at least it'll keep us awake. That's exactly what I want. I wouldn't dare go to sleep now. Softman.
Oh, good evening, or should I say good morning?
You better make it morning. You're up awfully late.
Aren't we all?
Doesn't it bother you, the lights being out?
Well, it does interfere with my reading. Candlelight isn't conducive to good vision.
We came down for some coffee.
Oh, Mrs. Johnson has already beaten you to it. The coffee must be perking by now.
Oh, good. I'll ask her to set out a few more cups. I'll be right back.
All right.
Miss Winters, I'd like to talk to you for a moment.
Of course.
I'd like to ask you some more questions about Josette Collins.
Well, I think that Barnabas Collins can fill you in a lot better on her than I can.
Yes, but I'd like to know your impressions of her. You've worn her dress, you've slept in her bed. I wondered if there are any insights that you gained from the experience.
Well, I think she was a very warm person. She liked people, and she liked parties, and she loved fine clothes.
She had good taste then.
Oh, yes. You remember her room, how beautifully it was furnished.
I certainly do. But why is it that you're so particularly interested in Josette?
Well, you know, she's made several contacts with me. I've always wondered why she chose me to be her medium.
Was there anything else that specifically stimulated your interest?
Well, there was the restoration of the old house and seeing her room. And, of course, talking to Barnabas Collins about her.
Yes, Barnabas Collins. I imagine he influenced you, too.
Well, I think that Josette was his favorite, too. He knows so much about her.
So I've learned. It was his idea that you wear Josette's dress at the party, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Did you want to do that?
Of course. I felt very honored that he would want me to come as Josette.
What's that you have?
Oh, it's a music box.
Oh, it's quite beautiful.
It belonged to Josette.
Josette?
Yes. Mr. Collins gave it to me.
Barnabas Collins gave it to you. Would it be too personal a question to ask why?
No, not at all. He said it was out of gratitude for having me help him make his party a success. The most wonderful present I've ever gotten. Would you like to hear it?
Yes, very much.
Isn't it a beautiful melody?
Yes, it is.
I especially love the tinkling sound it makes.
It does have a tinkling quality to it. Someone recently was trying to describe a melody to me. It was a tinkling melody, just like this one. Why do you do that?
I told you. Because I love it. Josette used to play it over and over also. Miss Hoffman, why are you asking so many questions about Josette?
She's fascinating from an historical and literary point of view.
Yes, I suppose I can understand that. Josette was the kind of woman that anyone would want to be. Everything about her was so distinctive. Even her perfume.
What do you know about her perfume?
It was jasmine.
Jasmine. It's a rather strong fragrance, isn't it?
Oh, yes, very strong. And very unforgettable. Mr. Collins let me wear some the night of the party.
Mr. Collins had some?
Yes, it's in a bottle in Josette's room.
A strong fragrance and a tinkling melody. How very, very interesting. Mr. Collins allows you to wear Josette's dress and perfume, fills you in on her history, and gives you the music box.
What are you trying to say?
Wouldn't it seem that he's trying to recreate Josette?
No, absolutely not. I think that that's an absurd notion.
Oh, it's just a thought, an impression I had.
Why do you ask so many questions?
The nature of my work.
But all of your questions are directed at Barnabas Collins.
I'm interested in the Barnabas Collins of the last century.
Well, I don't like what you're insinuating.
I'm not insinuating, I'm merely observing.
Well, I'm not sure that I'm interested in any of your observations.
I'm sorry.
I'm very tired, excuse me.
But the coffee will be here.
Vicky, here's the coffee. I'm tired, I don't want any. She seemed upset.
Coffee smells good. I guess it must have been the storm that upset her.
No, I don't think it was the storm.
Oh, thank you.
I think it was the music box.
The music box?
Yes, it woke her up. She said she turned it off, but when she wakened, it was playing.
Well, perhaps unconsciously she reached out and opened it.
Well, there's more to it than that. She thought that someone had been in the room. She's been terribly apprehensive all evening. I've been nervous about the storm, but she kept looking out the window, thinking she saw someone standing there in the driving rain. You know how it is with the lightning.
Yes. Tell me, do you think that Miss Winters has an inclination for the supernatural?
I never really thought about it that way, but strange things do seem to happen to her.
And Barnabas Collins.
Oh! There. That's more like it. We now have to go around the house shutting off some of the lights. You going out?
I think I'll stay here and finish my coffee.
Fine. Good night, then.
Good night.
Storm's almost over. I can see that. It's getting close to dawn.
I know. It's something I always know. Something I can't control. I wish I could control it, though. I wish I could hold back the dawn and make the night eternal. But that's a power that will never come to me. I want you to go into Portland this morning. Have you the list of items that we need?
Right here.
Well, I want you back as soon as possible.
I will.
Well, I want you to look after the house with great care.
Well, I do.
But Miss Winters was here the other day.
Well, you said she could come here anytime she wanted to.
I know, but she came with that Hoffman woman. I don't really know who she is, but she asks too many questions. Too many. I don't want her around here.
I'll watch out.
Well, it's time for me to go downstairs. You may as well leave now.
Okay, I'll get back fast.
Dark Shadows is a Dan Curtis production.
The quiet nights are longer now at Collinwood, as the season continues its advance toward the still distant fall. Succeeding days surrender to the coming night without complaint, and nature would seem to have made a truce within itself. But deep within the night, opposing forces stalk each other. Forces so opposite no peace is possible, and their meeting, when it comes, will shatter the ancient truce between the living and the dead.
I'm not sure I believe that.
Well, it's true. I was up most of the night, and I was asleep when you arrived. I don't feel the need for apologies.
I'm not asking for an apology. I'm asking for an explanation.
In either case, then, you're asking for something I am not prepared to give.
All right, then. You leave me no choice.
About what?
I'm going to remove my patient from your care.
What do you mean?
I'm going to take Maggie away from Wincliffe.
Oh, you can't do
No,
that.
now, you know perfectly well that I can. And I'm going to. Now, her father put her in my charge. I sent her to you only for special treatment.
Which I'm giving her.
But I see no evidence of it.
Is evidence of treatment always apparent?
No, but evidence of the lack of treatment often is, as in this case.
Well, what evidence do you have that I'm not treating Maggie?
Julia, for one thing, you're 100 miles away from her.
Only to carry out some necessary research.
I'm sorry. It seems to me that the research has become more important than the patient.
Oh, they're one and the same thing. I've told you that.
Julia, I'm sorry to say this, but I'm convinced that you're neglecting Maggie. I'm going to take her away from Wincliffe as soon as I can.
That's not what you believe, and you know it.
I'm through arguing with you.
I'm not through arguing with you. What you're really objecting to is not my treatment, but my manner.
That's not true.
It is. You're angry because I haven't given you a day-to-day report.
Only because I think I'm entitled to it.
I agree. But I've told you again and again that I can't give you any reports yet.
That answer isn't satisfactory anymore.
Oh, in a way, I don't blame you. I'm getting a little impatient myself.
What do you mean?
Oh, I'm sorry to say I've made almost no progress at all.
You mean you haven't come across anything?
Not a thing, but I would like to keep at it for a little while anyway.
I'm a little surprised. I've never seen you discouraged before.
So far, it's all been very tedious.
You know, you've never really made it clear exactly what you're expecting to find.
Oh, the way things are going, I may never find anything. I have a feeling that I'm going up a blind alley.
I'm sorry to hear that. I know you had great hopes.
Well, maybe I was wrong.
You know, that doesn't sound like you, Julia.
Oh, it's me, all right. So you can see why I haven't been giving you any reports.
Are you telling me the truth?
What do you mean?
Are you sure this isn't just another tactic to get me to stay quiet and keep out of the way? I know you for a long time, Julia. You always know what you're doing and where you're going. If you don't waste time. You know something. I know you do.
I know that I'm tired. I'm a little bored. Very, very bored. Then you'll let Maggie stay on at Wincliffe.
I suppose we shouldn't even be mentioning her name.
But you'll let her stay?
Yes, I suppose for the time being.
Trust me.
Oh, I do. I suppose I shouldn't, but I do.
Maybe it would be better if we didn't have these meetings here. I mean, people might really find out I'm not really doing historical research.
Well, maybe from now on we can try to arrange meetings at my office.
Oh, Vicky, I was just about to answer.
I'll get it. Hello, Dr. Woodard.
Hello, Vicky. I guess I should say goodbye. I'm just leaving.
Oh, has Miss Hoffman told you about the exciting work she's been doing?
Oh, yes. I just got a full report. Very exciting.
Barnabas, come in. You know Dr. Woodard.
Of course. No one's ill, I hope.
No. Just a social call on my friend, Miss Hoffman.
Oh.
Well, good night, Julia. And hope I see you soon. Keep up the good work.
Thanks, Dave. I will.
Goodbye. Mr. Collins, Vicky. Thanks, Vicky.
Well, I didn't know that you and Dr. Woodard were old friends.
Oh, yes, from undergraduate days. Then he went on to medical school, and I went into historical research.
Apparently.
Are you sure, Mr. Collins, that I can't change your mind about cooperating with me?
As a matter of fact, that's why I came.
Oh?
I'd like to have a word with you. It won't take long.
Oh, I'll get my notebook.
Oh, there's no need for that.
Oh, I'll be right back.
I'm glad that you're going to talk to her. Perhaps you'll even let her look at your library.
And how have you been enjoying the work?
I'm not sure.
Oh? But I expected that you'd be enjoying it immensely.
So did I.
What is it?
I get so confused.
Confused?
Yes, confused about the past and the present.
Well, I'm not sure I know what you mean.
Well, sometimes I feel that I'm going to lose the present altogether.
Is that necessarily so bad?
Oh, yes.
But why? I thought you loved the past.
I do. But I get frightened.
Of what?
Of being trapped.
Trapped?
Yes, sometimes I think that I'm going to get so far into the past that I'll never be able to get back.
Well, you mustn't be afraid.
Mrs. Stoddard let me do the work with Miss Hoffman in the hopes that it would give me an objective view of the past. Doesn't seem to have helped.
You're as attracted to it as ever.
Yes, I am. And it's got to stop. I hope that you won't be offended by this.
By what?
Josette's music box. I think I must give it back to you.
But why?
It's so difficult to explain. It has such an odd effect on me.
In what way?
It seems to cast a spell, and I find myself playing it all the time. I can't seem to stop playing it in spite of myself.
But it can hardly hurt you. The music is lovely, and Josette herself was enchanted by it.
I know that.
Well, please, you must keep it. I'd be very hurt if you didn't.
But then, what am I to do to keep from being so attracted by the past?
You know what I think you should do?
What?
Well, I think you've been so deeply affected because the music is so unusual. But I think that you should let it become quite ordinary.
You mean that I should let it become even more familiar?
Well, doesn't that make sense?
Yes. I guess it does.
But then try it and see. And if after a while that you're still disturbed by it, then I'll take it back. And please, don't be afraid of what being trapped by the past means. After all, one should be afraid of being trapped by the present. I hope I didn't mislead you. All I wanted to do was apologize for my behavior the other day.
Oh, I see.
It was rude and a little abrupt. I apologize.
You know, of course, what you could do to make up for it.
My apology isn't sufficient.
You could tell me what you know about your namesake and his sister, Sarah.
I told you. I know nothing.
What puzzles me is why nothing had such an effect on you.
Well, I have heard parts of the story, as everyone has, and it's always been deeply affecting.
Sarah was the only one he seems to have loved. And from the picture, one can understand why.
Please, I'd rather not discuss it. If you have accepted my apologies, and you're willing to forget the entire situation...
Even, I remember the picture. The picture exudes an innocence. She was a lovely child.
If you'll excuse me, I really must leave.
Of course, the person I really care most about is your namesake, the original Barnabas Collins.
A rather dull person from all accounts.
All accounts?
Well, from all the accounts that I've come across.
Oh, then perhaps I've uncovered some things that you're not familiar with.
What do you mean?
Exactly what I said. I find Barnabas Collins, oh, not you, of course, the original Barnabas Collins, the most fascinating of all the Collinses.
How can you? He went to England when he was very young and died there almost obscurely.
So the story goes.
You mean you've uncovered some new facts?
I told you when I first met you that I knew a great deal about a great many things.
May I ask what you've discovered?
Oh. If you remember, at the time I offered you an exchange of information. I would tell you everything I knew if you would tell me everything you knew. You refused.
I can't believe that you really have found out anything startling.
Maybe I have, and maybe I haven't.
Have you been doing some special research on Barnabas Collins?
Yes, I have. Very special.
And what would you like from me in exchange for that information?
Oh, my original offer still stands. You tell me everything you know, and I'll tell you everything I know.
Well, it hardly seems fair, since obviously I know so little by comparison.
Do you?
If you're willing, perhaps we could talk tomorrow at my place.
I'd like that very much. Shall we say tomorrow morning?
I'm afraid that wouldn't be convenient.
Oh. Well, tomorrow afternoon, then.
I won't be available until the evening.
I understand. Completely.
I look forward to it.
So do I.
Then it's agreed.
Very definitely.
Then until we meet again.
Until then, I'm happy it's to be so soon.
So am I.
I've never been able to get used to the resemblance between you and this portrait.
It is amusing, isn't it?
Amusing. I find it uncanny.
Well, my cousin Elizabeth finds it almost unbelievable.
Oh, unbelievable. I don't find it unbelievable. I find it completely believable. After all, you are closely related. Very closely related.
Yes, aren't we? Well, thank you for your interview, Miss Hoffman. I can't tell you how much I'm looking forward to our next meeting.
I can hardly wait. I can't wait till tomorrow. And I'm sure you can't either. Who is it?
Miss Hoffman, it's Vicky.
Come in.
I hope I'm not bothering you, but could I talk to you for a few minutes?
Of course, what's wrong? You look worried.
I don't know what to do.
About what?
Well, I don't know whether I should continue working with you.
But I thought you were enjoying it.
Well, that's just it. I am.
I'm not sure I understand.
Well, I'm beginning to feel that my attraction to the past is not normal, and I'm afraid of getting trapped in the past.
Well, if that's really the way you feel...
Miss Hoffman, how do you do it? How do you get so close to the past and still stay so objective?
Are you so sure I am so objective?
Oh, yes, you are. I can tell. To you, this is just a job.
Oh, I like to think it means a little more than that.
Oh, no, I didn't mean that you don't take it seriously. I meant that you don't let it take over.
Thank you. But there are those who have said I'd let my work become an obsession. That I'd do anything for the sake of it.
Oh, but that's not true.
Well, whether it's true or not doesn't matter. The work itself is what's important. If that means losing my objectivity, then I gladly let it go. What's the matter?
That dog.
Is there anything unusual about that?
It's getting closer.
Well, don't be upset. You look frightened.
I heard a dog howling the night that Maggie Evans vanished. I suppose it's nothing to get frightened about, but I keep remembering.
I wouldn't let it worry me if I were you.
I seem to get frightened about so much lately.
Why don't you get a good night's sleep and then we'll talk it over in the morning?
I'm sorry I'm keeping you up.
Don't worry. There's nothing for you to be afraid of.
Thank you. I hope that dog's not going to keep that up all night. Good night.
Good night. Good evening, Barnabas Collins. I've been waiting for you for a long time. A very long time.